Now let us continue with the discussions about creating an assignment. You may use this list of questions as a checklist while designing an assignment for your course. The ultimate goal here is to make sure all the necessary informations have been incorporated. You want to create an assignment which is relevant and really helpful in facilitating the learning of the students. You need to make sure all the instructions are made clear to the students and make everything easy to the students so that they can actively participate in the teaching and learning activities as stipulated in the assignment. Now let us look into it one by one. First, you need to check whether you have provided the written descriptions of the assignment. The purpose of the assignment should be clearly specified. Make known to the students the content of the assignment and why is it necessary for that particular course. You will need to design the assignment in line with the course syllabus and the learning outcome. Remember the golden triangle. The assignment is a part of the teaching and learning activities. This will have to be designed in line with the course outcome. And then after the teaching and learning activities, there will be assessment for the assignment. Now this assessment will have to be in line with the teaching and learning activities carried by the assignment and also in line with the course outcome. The entirety needs to be intact. Therefore, it is important to have the assignments in line with the course syllabus and the learning outcome. Next, you will need to check the instructions whether it has been articulated precisely and without ambiguity. The instructions must be clear to the students, and the information provided in the assignment handout needs to be self-explanatory. Of course, normally we will provide briefing by the day that we are giving the assignment in order to make clear to the students what they are expected to do, and what is written in the assignment handouts should be made clear also. Make sure there are no confusions, as students may not refer to you if they have misunderstood certain things in terms of the instructions for the assignment. Next, you can check yourself if you have provided the information about appropriate format and presentation. You can have quite a detailed list regarding the expected format, such as the page length, the citation styles, the reference format, and etc. Make sure the due date is clearly specified, together with the consequences for missing the due date. Now, if you put a clear consequences for missing the due date, make sure you are going to implement it accordingly. Next, the performance criteria needs to be clearly specified. What are the expectations? How do you define quality output of the assignment? The students need to be aware of those. Where are the focus of evaluation and how they can do in order to meet the requirements for the assignment. Also, you should clearly indicate the percentage of your assignment that contributes to the course grade. The students will need to know the weightage of that assignment so that they are aware of the importance of the assignment. Also, you have to get yourself ready to provide supervisions to the students. Sometimes models and samples can be provided to help the students to kickstart with the assignment, but you have to be careful to make sure the students actually going through the learning process. These are the things that you need to prepare while designing an assignment. Next, let us talk about the quality of an assignment. Different persons may have different approach to define the quality of the assignment output. Some may look into the content, some may look into the accuracy, some may look into the effort of the students, and so on and so forth. Whichever definitions of the good quality of the assignment, it must supported with good justification. It needs to be something that undeniable both from the perspective of the lecturers and the students regarding the quality. In order to do that, you need to make sure those criteria has been clearly articulated in the assignment handout, particularly when you are dealing with the performance criteria. This is an example how do you determine the quality of the assignment output, which you can choose based on whichever you deem appropriate and relevant. Now, how do we consider an assignment is of quality? It can be defined based on at least one of the following. You may look into the depth of the knowledge and proficiency of the skills demonstrated by the students. You may observe into the reasonings as well as the critical thinkings of the students, ability of the students to formulate knowledge, synthesize knowledge, or ability to analyze the case or problems in depth. These are all classified under the first conditions. Some assignment may require certain skills to deal with tools such as software, experiment, devices, and so on and so forth. You may look into the quality of the output as well as observe their proficiency of those skills. Second is the extended explorations beyond the lecture. This one is for you to determine the ability of the students to gain additional knowledge by themselves, self-directed learning, and then eager to learn extra on top of that you have delivered in the lectures. Personally, I would strongly encourage the students to go beyond the lectures so that they cannot fully rely on the information delivered in the lecture to reduce the redundancy in terms of the teaching and learning activities. Normally, I will maintain some portions of those tasks as required in the assignment to have some degree of similarity with the lectures, and then another major part they will have to go beyond that. Now, this extra part here can be additional informations. It may also due to the in-depth explorations and critical thinkings. Personally, I prefer the depth of the assignment. Whatever being taught in the lectures are normally basic and fundamental. Now, when come to the assignment, it is not merely applications. I would like the students to go deeper. If possible, I would like the assignment to hit the highest levels of thinking order, which is C6. And in order to achieve that C6, solely rely on the informations learned from the lecture, it will be insufficient. This will make the students will have to explore additional, go beyond the lecture. Personally, I find this quite important because the fundamentals of educations, which I personally believe, it will be the techniques of learning as well as techniques of finding resources. Imagine that students after they graduated, the students might not be able to recall all the principles and concepts learned throughout that 4 years of engineering program. This is something that we cannot guarantee, but what we can guarantee here it would be when they enter the working industry, they have the ability to learn quickly understand something, and since the trainings given in the 4 years of engineering program, the basics and fundamentals are there. And what makes bachelor degree different from the diplomas is that the bachelor degree students are supposed to be well trained with critical thinkings, skills to synthesize and formulate knowledge, not just simply applications. And because of this, we should incorporate this kind of element in the assignment. If I were to design a program, I would recommend all the assignments offered in every courses throughout that 4 years program will expect something extra beyond the lectures, which at the same time require the students to demonstrate the transferable skills, such as critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, creative thinking skills, and others. This will allow the students to stay competitive in the working environment later. Next criteria to determine the quality of assignment, it will be the thoroughness and appropriateness of the scopes. You need to make sure the students cover all the essential things towards the adequate details. You want the maximums out of the students in terms of the things that they learn from the assignment. Next, it will be the relevancy, significance, correctness, and accuracy of the information. If your assignments design are quite practical, simulating what is happening in the industry, you may set the quality at least equivalent to the industrial standards. Of course, we know this is quite difficult to achieve, but at least close to the industrial standards. Now, in order to have this, definitely there will be close supervisions, or probably the models and samples from the industry, so that the students have an idea what is actually the industrial standards. There are two ways to demonstrate the industrial standards, at least for my program, civil engineering. For example, you are talking about reinforced concrete design. In order to simulate the industrial standards, all the information provided to the students will have to be itself at the industrial standard, and then the output, such as structural drawings produced by the students, will also have to be towards the industrial standards. So you will have to make sure the consistency from the inputs towards the output, everything closely resemble the industrials. Another way is that you use the checklist used in the industry. For example, when you are submitting the documents to the authorities, normally the authorities, there are checklists. You may use the relevant checklists so that the students will not miss any of those. Having the students exposed to those checklists, not only the students are trained to deal with the industrial standards, the students are also aware of the requirements by the local authorities. This will help them quickly adapt with the working environment in future, especially when their works needs to be submitted to the local authorities. Next criteria for quality assignment, it will be minimum errors, ambiguities, and mistakes. You want quality works, students will need to put into extra effort to make sure there are no errors and mistakes. And you may also define the quality through comparative differences between the peer and also the previous works. By comparing the products from different groups, you will see which group is better, and you may also compare with the previous semesters. Then you have an idea whether they are on par with the previous students. What you see here, there is quite a variety of ways to define the quality of the assignment. Some can be more significant over the others, and this is dependent on the nature of the course that you are teaching. You might not be able to cover all, as if you really need to evaluate all this, it may lead to quite an extra work. At least this provides you some guides for you to prepare the performance criteria. Look into the significant part of the assignment. What is your ultimate purpose for the assignment? Where are the emphasis and the focus? And which criteria definitions will best suit to the purpose? You need to know that the performance criteria should strictly abide to the rubrics. These rubrics are made transparent to the students by the time the assignment is given. You may construct the rubrics based on those qualities here, and when you grade the assignment reports from the students, everything will have to be strictly abide to the rubrics. After that, you will have to do some review about the effectiveness of the rubrics to define the actual quality of the assignment. Sometimes there could be misalignment between what you perceive to be quality versus what is computed in the rubrics. Now, when the rated result is not aligned with what you perceive to be of quality, that means you have to review and revise the assessment criteria so that it is reflecting the actual quality more closely. Or you may also fine-tune the weightage of the rubrics. The reason being here is some quality criteria may be more significant over the others. For example, from the perspective of the education, most likely we are more favor on the first three. We want in-depth knowledge. We want the ability of the students to have self-directed learning, and we want the students to have the complete learning experience about thoroughness of the scope. However, when it comes to minimum errors, accuracies, and probably the industrial standards, those are additionals. You may have higher weightage for the criteria related to which you feel is more significant, and reduce the weightage for those with minimum errors, writing skills, and etc. Or probably towards the end of the academic cycle, which is third year and final year, we would like to skew the assignments more towards the industrial applications, which in this case, the industrial standards may carry a larger weightage. By third year and final year, all the fundamental knowledge should have already been in place. Therefore, you may adjust the weightage again, fitting the needs and the purpose of the assignment. And you will see a process of reviewing and fine-tuning your assessment. After several semesters, your assessment becomes more accurate and more effective in meeting the purpose of the course and the program. So I would say that creating and designing an assignment is not a one-time job. Normally, the first time you design, there will be a lot of assumptions. You determine the components you want. You want this and you want that. You start to blend in certain requirements, and you simulate the learning process that students have to go through in order to complete the assignment. It is still speculations. Then you will have to get the feedback from the students. Look at the qualities of students' report. Observe their learning process, whether it is in line with what you have anticipated earlier, whether it is possible of them meeting your requirements, or is it too easy, or is it too challenging. You may also need to quantify the time spent by the students in order to justify the workload as imposed to the students. It should be just nice, not too light, not too heavy. It should be within the justifiable range of SLT, student learning time. And then later you will look into the rated results. See if this is in line with your perceived quality. Based on the perceived qualities here, if there is any misalignment, you will need to fine-tune your assessment criteria. At different stages of the study, let's say first year and second year, versus third year and final year, the problems of the students and the needs of the student may differ. First year and second year are more towards the learning, and third year and final year are more towards the application. Now the weightage shall changes. In the first year and second year, lower thinking orders take larger portions. But when come to the third year and final year, higher thinking orders should carry the largest weightage. By tuning this, you will progressively help the students to grow their competency. And the fundamentals of education is to stimulate learning. There are certain things that has already been within the culture of the students. For example, nowadays students are well trained with the ability to search for information. Many also well trained with how to produce report in the proper format. Now, if all this has already been in place, then your focus of teaching and learning activity as well as the assessment should go for something that can challenge the growth of the students. There is a lot of professional judgment for this, which you cannot apply this as a blanket to all the students. That's why you need lecturers to facilitate the entire learning process. I would say these are often being overlooked by the lecturer. Imagine yourself. Let's say now you are an experienced lecturer. Ask yourself, have you ever modified your rubrics after the first time you designed your assignment? Have you ever tried to review your assessment to see if there is any misalignment? Have you been using the same set of assignments and the assessment criteria over the years, even though now the students' learning style, qualities has changed over time? We will need to be vigilant on this. You know that the primary schools and secondary schools have been quite proactively improved over the years. They are now upgrading the standards year by year. In old days, we focus more on memorizing and understanding concept. Nowadays, they incorporate the elements of critical thinking. Now, if we still maintain the traditional ways to do in the higher learning institution, we are not really keeping up with the latest development in the education field. Therefore, we will need to be sensitive to the needs and the abilities of the students and help them through the learning process, and assignment can be one of the important tools to achieve that, and it is easily custom made to meet the purpose. As long as it is well designed, there are various possibilities and you will be satisfied with